welcome to this evening where we have some wonderful alum who are going to be joining us and answering any questions that you may have of them. Just to introduce myself, my name is Mrs. Labbe. I am the 12th grade administrator at Wootton, and I am going to let our guests introduce themselves before we start the question and answer period. Daniel, if you want to start us off.
Hi, my name is Daniel Lee. Obviously, I graduated this past May like everybody else over here. I currently attend Penn State, and I'm part of the Army ROTC program over there. So, yeah, it's great to see all of you here.
Thank you, Daniel. Jamie?
Hi, I'm Jamie. Like Daniel said, I graduated last May. I currently attend Stevenson University, and I'm on the women's soccer team there.
Thank you, Jamie. Ethan?
Hi, I'm Ethan. I currently go to the University of Southern California. Also a freshman like everyone else here. So it's good to be here.
Thanks, Ethan. And Adalyn?
I'm Adalyn. I'm a freshman at Reyer University. I'm on the women's soccer team.
Okay, so thank you. We have a couple of visitors in our breakout room. So anytime those of you who are visiting with us would like to just jump in and ask a question about college life of our alum, a question about possibly some of the differences that they are noticing from having graduated last year and are freshmen in college this year, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. Well, I'll get us started. And any of you can answer this question as you would like to. What are some of the major differences that you would say that you have experienced from graduating from Wootton and now having almost a full semester under your belt as a freshman in college?
I mean, I can start. I actually do have a full semester. I'm home for winter break. I just finished finals last week. And I noticed really two major differences. One would be finals. We didn't have that at Wootton, so it was definitely a really big change for me to have to kind of recollect all of my thoughts and like what we've learned throughout just the semester alone, not even the whole year, to put into finals. And my other thing that I realized and like noticed was different was starting classes later than 7:45 in the morning. I did have an 8 a.m. this semester, which was kind of difficult just because I'm on the soccer team and we had early morning lifts, but that kind of got me going in the morning, so it was okay. But I definitely preferred having 9 a.m.s and later throughout the semester.
Thank you, Jamie. Anyone else want to answer that?
Well, I'd say it's nice you get to pick your own schedule. So like, as Jamie said, like you get to, if you don't like morning classes, you cannot do them. Or what I'm doing in the spring is I'm doing a lot of morning classes because I have practice in the afternoon. So then I can do just practice or if you don't play a sport, you can just do homework or hang out with friends or schedule it however you want. Or I also know some people like only do Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes, and they'll have Tuesdays and Thursdays off. So being able to create your own schedule is really nice.
Yeah, I think also with that, it kind of took like time to realize the best schedule for me and like throughout the semester. And I think I could have kind of planned better with my schedule before, because at least for me, I had to make my schedule in the summer before going to school. So just kind of figuring out what's best for you, like what would work for you, like morning classes, later classes, and kind of putting like a mental routine for what you want like your weeks to look like before like you decide what classes, because with college you have a lot of leeway to decide when to take what classes.
Yeah, I completely agree with the rest of you guys on how like you have the opportunity to kind of like schedule your own schedule. And but I'd say the biggest difference for me is probably like the way like classes are structured, because in high school like the teachers always give you like worksheets and like explain to you how to do step by step with like certain concepts and certain assignments and stuff like that. But in college, like you're expected to teach yourself. You're expected to take a lot more information than what you're typically used to in high school. So that was a a pretty big challenge for me to kind of adjust to like throughout the semester, but yeah, it takes time to fully adjust and get up to full speed.
I'd also say time management's a big thing. You have to be like really on top of it because there's nobody telling you what to do. Like if you want to sleep through your classes and skip them all, you could, but that's only going to hurt you in the long run. So you have to like be in charge of yourself and plan when you're going to do stuff and not wait because there's nobody like telling you what to do or like helping you like in high school.
Do have a question in the chat. Question is, hi, I'm particularly interested in Ethan talking about going to school across the country at USC. What were the big challenges?
Yeah, I mean, moving across the country was kind of a challenge at first. Having a lot of family on the East Coast, or all my family on the East Coast. But it honestly, it went amazing for me. Like being at USC, there's a lot of people that aren't genuinely from California. So a lot of people are going from faraway places. And I think it is a little scary at first, just kind of being there by yourself. But I mean, I found at USC, it's just a very like friendly and open community. And I was able to make like really strong connections and find groups of people and clubs that I really love. So I kind of like made it like a home for me there. So I guess it just takes a lot of time to adjust and figure out people and clubs and things you want to get involved in. And then from there, it just kind of branched out into feeling more comfortable there. But yeah, it definitely was a little challenging at first, just like with the distance and like the time difference, but it honestly went amazing. So yeah, I think once you are able to just manage everything and find groups that you feel comfortable with, it kind of just goes from there.
Okay. So are you all currently home from winter break?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a question, just kind of going off of the question to Ethan. How often did you guys find yourselves coming home, or is this your first time home since you left in the summer? I'm sure it's a variety across the board, but I think it's good to hear just your different experiences of entering college, but then how often or not how often you chose to come back to Maryland.
So I can start. So for me, I had to go to school August 2nd for preseason. So I had to start way early. And so all of preseason, all of regular season, I was super packed. So I couldn't go home at all. But my school is 3.5 hours away. So I had family and friends and stuff come and see me, especially during preseason when some of my friends like hadn't started their school yet. They could come see me, but I couldn't leave. But then as soon as season was over, then I would sometimes go home on the weekends. But even the people who live close to school, one of the advice the upperclassmen gave is not to go home every weekend, even if you could, like you're close, because there's things like people hang out on the weekends. Like that's some of the best memories is like things we do on the weekends and stuff. So if you can go home every weekend, I wouldn't, but it is nice sometimes being able to visit home. So I'd say I probably visited a couple times after season was over.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the same page as Adalyn. Like my school is only 45 minutes away in Baltimore, but I probably only came home like 2 or 3 times without this and Thanksgiving because like she said, I mean, I had to go to school on August 18th. So I got to start a little bit later, but it was still early. Campus was empty, and that was kind of like where I really got to know my team. Like we're around our team 24/7, and my upperclassmen said the same thing. If you can go home, try not to, because some of the best memories are made on the weekends. And not going home gave me some of my favorite memories of the semester by being able to hang out with my friends on the weekends. So I think coming home definitely was something I wanted to do at first, but then I realized that it was something that was worth it in the long run to see my family and my friends back here, but it was also not worth it because I'd be missing out on everything that college still had to offer me.
Yeah, for me, it was a little harder to kind of just take a quick trip home. But we started pretty early, like August 12th, I believe. So we had fall break and Thanksgiving break. So for fall break, I know a lot of people that did go home, but I actually like did a little trip in California with some friends. So that was nice, but it is a little difficult just because there are people that are from California and are able to make like a quick trip home. But I've honestly, I kind of like not being able to have like the convenience of that, because I feel like I might again like try to go home more than it would be good to. But I did go home for Thanksgiving break and I'm home for winter break now, and I feel like it's a good balance of being there and home. Like every time that I'm like, I could go home, it's like about time for break, so it works out.
Yeah, I think the opportunity to go home really like depends on your situation. So like for Ethan, like it'll be really inconvenient for him to like fly all the way back from California to Maryland. And it was kind of the same thing for me, except like I have like a lot of like siblings who are still in high school and everything, and it'll kind of like mess up my parents' schedule to like pick me up and everything. So just being able to like stay on campus like over the weekends, like that's really where a lot of the memories are made. And at least for me, it was attending the Penn State football games, and I'm sure at USC, and football's pretty big over there too. And so, yeah, a lot of fun memories made over there, and it's a great opportunity to kind of like that bond with like other people that you meet, because like not everyone's going to be like from that area. There's some people who also come from this DMV area, other people who may be coming from like other sides of the country who may be feeling the same way. So yeah, it's always great to stay on campus and try to get to know people a lot more.
I wanted to ask you guys about your schedules. Like, what are some of the classes that you have chosen to take in your freshman year? What are some of the classes that you were told you needed to take as a freshman?
I can go ahead and start that. So at my school, I'm a nursing major at my school. So like I'm sure most schools have sequences for certain majors that like for classes that you need to take in order to stay on track in order to graduate. And that's exactly what my school has. And I basically was told like I have to follow this exact sequence in order to be on track to start my clinicals junior year. So I took all prereqs this past semester. So like I took bio, I took math, I took English, and I'm also a leadership scholar at my school. So I'm required to take a leadership course once a year, and there's four classes for the 4 years. But since I'm a nursing major, I have to take two every year in order for them to not conflict with my scheduled junior year. So it was kind of an easier process for me, at least, to do my schedule because I already had the classes I needed to take. But it is a little upsetting to know that I don't really have as much freedom in the classes that I can take compared to other people who I know in my school.
I would say that again, like just the freedom that is nice. So you can choose who your teacher is, like what time, all of that stuff. So for me, something that helped a lot was I talked to the upperclassmen on the soccer team. But like if you make any like upperclassmen friends or know people who've gone in the same school, you can see which teachers they liked or didn't like, or like what courses for their prereqs they had to take. Or like for gen eds, like the required classes, sometimes they'll be like, you have to pick one of the following classes to fit that category. And so they'll tell you, like, you can get advice on which classes you like. For me, I started by taking a lot of gen eds because I didn't know what my major what I wanted my major to be, and I switched my major already first semester. So that way, because I started with a lot of gen eds that I'm going to need either way, switching my major didn't really affect my classes, and I didn't like lose anything. Where if you take a lot of classes you need for your major and then end up switching your major, it could mess up like your major path. But also for me, scheduling, my main thing was a lot of classes, there's like 2 classes where you have to take 2 semesters of it. So I try to line it up to take them in 1 year rather than doing like a spring and then the second semester in the fall, so you don't lose it over the summer. So like classes, like for me, it's like English and history. You have to take 2 semesters. So I'm doing those both this year, like fall and spring. So they're back to back. So I won't miss anything or like forget anything over the summer. It'll be fresh in my head.
Yeah, for me as well, like I kind of more or less had a 4-year plan that they gave me to kind of follow. But with that, there's like free spaces for like GEs and like general stuff that you need to take. One, I know you said one like classes or anything that were good. One class I took for my art credit was like origins of jazz dance history, and it was actually really interesting, and it kind of like gave me an interest in that type of study. So I'm really glad I took that. But I feel like also with that, when you take your general education requirements, there's like a lot of, at least for us, there's like a lot of different classes that like have specific subjects in like the requirement that you need. So like finding something that like may interest you or something that is intriguing could like lead to a potential like minor or something that interests you more. So I feel like just with that, kind of go in with an open mind, and like I feel like the best part is like taking these general education things to kind of figure out, oh, like this is what I want to do, this is what I don't like. So yeah.
At least for me, yeah, I think Adalyn was one who had mentioned this, but a really like important thing about like choosing classes is like knowing like what your schedule is, like who the professor is, like what other people think about it, because like believe me, like having a good professor makes a major difference in like your experience in the class and how well you learn the material. So and you should also try to like schedule as early as possible, because like who knows, like maybe like a time that you think would be a good time for that particular class might be filled up like within like minutes or hours, like whenever the scheduling opens. So like you got to really be on top of it once that time comes, whenever like you're trying to schedule. Because for me, like I had a really late orientation, and that's when like we had to like schedule our classes. And when it got to that point, like I was pretty late, and then I sorry, I had to like take like these two classes that I really did not do well in high school. It was math and econ, and I had to take both of those online. So really just keep in mind that like you have to like really be on top of and like picking the right professors and like scheduling things like when you need to. So yeah.
Okay. One of the questions, did all of you have online versus in-person classes?
So for me, I started with all in-person classes because how my school works is you have to have, like, freshmen can't take online classes typically, and you have to have a certain GPA in order to do online classes. But what my school has is something called a late start class, which is, it's like a more condensed version of a class at 7 weeks instead of 14 weeks. And so when I changed my major, I switched from health science to psychology. So I no longer needed bio and bio lab. So when I dropped those classes, I was low on credits. And for some people it was fine, but it messed up with my like eligibility for soccer. So I needed to pick up a class. So I had to pick up this late start class. And at first I wasn't really sure about it because it was online, and like I'm a very like visual learner. I want to like be in the classroom and learn. And I was scared I was going to like procrastinate my work if it was all online and I could just wait to the last minute. But I think as long as you, for online classes, as long as you're on top of doing your work and getting it done, it wasn't that bad. And there is, for at least for me, there's a teacher who's in charge. So if you had any questions, you could meet with the teacher in person or on Zoom or email them or whatever, even though it was an online class. But for me, the online classes was like videos, doing work, and it was all asynchronous. So there wasn't like a meeting time. And so that was kind of nice, where you could do the work whenever you wanted. So like for me, I would try to knock it out at the beginning of the week. We had like work every week. So it would be due Sunday night, but I'd try to get it done early in the week, like during my lunch break or something like that. And then I wouldn't have to worry about that class for the rest of the week. So that part of it was really nice.
For my school, there aren't really that many options for like asynchronous online classes during the fall and like spring semester, but I know there are for summer. Um, all my classes were in person this semester, but a lot of the professors, at least for me, will have like Zoom meetings some of the weeks and just kind of have asynchronous things, depending on what the class is and depending on the professor. But next semester, I have one class that is online, but it's just like a 1-unit seminar that the professor is just teaching, and it's through Zoom. So I didn't have any experiences that were like asynchronous classes.
Sort of similar to Ethan's school, my college doesn't offer many online classes during the fall and the spring semesters, but they do during the winter and the summer. Like I will be taking an asynchronous class over the winter to cover one of my humanities credits. So that way I'm not like overpiling my classes in the spring, because I have lift and practice throughout all of the spring semester. So I really didn't want to be packed with everything else in my schedule. So I'm taking an asynchronous class in the winter, but I currently haven't. But I know from upperclassmen that the asynchronous classes are very similar to what Ethan said. They have Zooms. If you have any questions, there will always be a teacher present to have an email sent to them if they need. You can set up a Blue Jeans meeting, which is similar to Zoom, but for some reason we don't use Zoom at my school. We use something called Blue Jeans, but it's the same kind of thing compared to what Ethan said.
To also go off of Jamie, so I'm also doing a winter class. I don't know if it's like for athletes or like why it's mostly do it, but for my school, we're required to do it. We're not required, but like my coach strongly encourages it, because the way for us, it's fall season is super busy. So I did have to take the late start class, but that's because I dropped a class, but I was at 13 credits for the fall, and typically to graduate on time you need 15 credits. So I stay on track. I'm taking a winter class also. For my school, it's 3 weeks in January, so it's super short. It's just a couple hours of work a day. But it also depends on the class. Like I know if you do science classes over winter, it's super compact and you're doing like 5-6 hours of work a day. So that wasn't something I wanted to do. So something that I did that was really helpful is I emailed the professors of the classes I was interested in for the winter classes, like my top few choices, and told them that I was an athlete and like all this stuff, and asked what the workload was like and if they had like a syllabus or outline. And the ones who didn't explained to me like how much work it would be per day and stuff like that. So the class that I signed up for, it was a music class to do my music requirement, but it was only a couple hours of work a day and it seemed interesting to me. So I'm excited to do it. So yeah, you can always reach out to your professors though and ask them ahead of time before scheduling.
We have another question. What has been your experience with your college's co-op department, specifically in helping place you in internships?
I don't know too much about my co-op program, but something kind of with that. I'm a biochem major, so my department like ensures that we will have at least one semester of research done under a faculty or someone in the staff. So that's kind of nice. And then also we have an upper level class when you get to like your junior, senior year, where you're like doing a specific type of research with a professor, like prolonged over that year or multiple years.
Yeah, well, for me, I'm in the Army ROTC program, so like that basically trains us to eventually become like officers in the military. And now, I don't know anything specifically for my major, which is business, but I know through ROTC there's like different like opportunities you could do during the summer. Like for me, I'm applying for like a study abroad program where I get to go to a different country and like study a language over there, and the Army will help like sponsor like the food, the travel expenses, like things like that. And there's also like different like camps that you could go to within ROTC. So there's like something called air assault school. So it basically teaches you some different like military tactics that you can do if you decide to go that route. And if you're not really into like actiony type like stereotypical military things, there's also like if you're like a nurse, like you could do like a nursing internship. There's like a lot of like different connections in DC to that. I know that. And there's a lot of opportunities for computer science, like intelligence, things like that. So yeah, ROTC definitely has provided me a lot of opportunities for internships and like other training opportunities. So yeah, that's my answer to that question.
I would also say, I don't really know that much either, but I would say it's really important to make good relationships with your professors, because professors have a lot of connections and they can help you a lot as you get older and become an upperclassman. So I would just say make good relationships with all of them, because you can use help, especially ones for your major. Like if you're a science major, your science professors will help you a lot. So keep good relationships with them. And yeah.
I mean, I personally don't know much about my co-op department, but I have a couple teammates who are juniors right now who are also nursing majors, and as long as you stay in academic standing in the program throughout your freshman and sophomore year, then you are pretty much guaranteed an internship. And my school specifically works with, I think it's 3 or 4 different hospitals throughout the Baltimore area, and you get to choose like which one is like your number one ranking, second, third, fourth ranking, and then you get assigned to a hospital. And then from there, you'll have clinicals in the hospital, and you have like simulations in our simulation rooms some days, but it really just goes back and forth between that. But you're pretty much guaranteed a place in the hospital as long as you have good academic standing.
Okay, I have another question. As you said before, you guys now have like a semester under your belt of college. You have, of course, you have finished your senior year of high school. So I want you to think back, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your first day of senior year self?
I feel like a lot of different things come to mind. I think one thing is like about just college applications, like you will probably end up where you're meant to be and like have options and be able to make the right decision. And like I know like choosing a college is kind of like this big like scary thing, but I feel like wherever you end up, you can make it for like what you want to make it for yourself. And just not to stress that much about that. Someone else can go. I feel like I have more to think about with that question.
For me, I think it definitely comes down to not over stressing about it. As someone who decided very late into my high school career that I wanted to play soccer in college, it was definitely probably a lot more stressful than others made it out to be, because I was over here frantically sending college coaches emails, trying to set up any kind of thing. But I think what it really comes down to, especially for athletic recruiting, is definitely don't stress about it. I think if you're meant to play, which 99%, 100% of people are meant to play if they really put their mind to it, you will find somewhere. That's exactly what happened to me. I was super stressed, and I got an email from my current coach, and everything just kind of fell in line after that. I went on an official visit and completely fell in love with the school, even more so than my normal admissions visit. So just definitely not over stressing it is probably something that I would have to tell myself.
I'd agree with that. I'm almost the opposite. I committed pretty early, like before people were even doing applications, turning them in. So I actually only applied to the school because I had committed before we'd apply. So that part of it was nice to kind of get it out of the way. But my whole junior year and sophomore year was stuff. So it's just a different timeline for me. But like Jamie said, I would just say don't stress it too much. Like it's really not the end of the world. Everybody's going to find a place they love. And if for some reason it doesn't line up, you can always transfer. There's always other options. For not application wise, for me, something that I didn't take that many AP classes in high school because I spend so much time playing sports and doing stuff. I didn't have the time to do all that homework and everything. And a lot of people were like, oh, you're not gonna get into all these colleges, all this stuff because of not doing it. But yes, APs can be helpful and they will do your credit. They can give you credits for college, but I didn't take very many. I only took a couple throughout high school and I got in. So, and I also, I applied to the school I'm going to, and I applied to Maryland and I got into both. So it's not the end of the world. Things like that, like don't listen to what everybody else is saying because they don't know the whole story of everything. And so applying to college is more than just AP classes and stuff like that. So it'll fall into place and everything will go well.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Adalyn just said. Like the biggest thing for me that I would tell myself from the beginning of senior year is to don't draw comparisons. Don't compare yourself to whoever gets into which school, because like everyone has their own unique path. Like everyone, and I know it sounds really cliche, but it's true. But like everyone has their own like a specific study that they want to do, and you really shouldn't like live your life to kind of like impress other people, because that's where you get ahead of yourself, and like you're eventually gonna get lost, and like things aren't gonna look good. So it's better to just stick to how you feel, like stick to what you believe is right for you, and not how to like please like this specific person or that person, like what they think. No, none of that matters. It's all about what's right for you. So yeah, that's my answer to that question.
I think same with like rushing or taking it slow, that kind of thing. As Daniel said, everybody has their own timeline. So like me and Jamie, I feel like are good examples. Like I was one of the first people to commit and she was one of the last, but we're both in great places now and love it. So it's really based on you and where you stand and how early you start or how late you start, but it all falls into place.
Also, kind of like what Adalyn was saying earlier, one thing I wish I did was kind of look into the schools I was interested in, and also like the AP credit with that, because I like ended up taking some classes that like was not worth any credit, and also could have taken other classes that would have been worth more credit. So like that could also be really helpful to like not stress about stuff that you don't need to stress about.
Thank
I
you.
see
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just saw the question in the chat.
Yeah.
It's asking about SSL hours.
Mhm.
I don't know how much that does or doesn't play into getting accepted, but what I'll say, I had the 260 hours or whatever that certification was, and for my college I got $1,000 towards textbooks, like as like a community service like scholarship thing. So it went towards textbooks, but it also like was for the bookstore, so like I could get like sweatshirts or like whatever it was. So it's just stuff like that. There's like scholarships that I know of for community service, so in that part it can help with that kind of stuff, and it looks really good, I think, being a part of your community.
For my school, I think I had just over the 75 hours. I think I had like 114, something like that. I'm really not 100% sure, but I really don't think it made that much of an impact. I know at my school, they don't, as far as I know, they don't give out scholarships for community service. We are a small private school with maybe 3,000 students. So I think it definitely depends on what college you're looking at and what they have to offer. For my school, we have a service scholar program, but it's not SSL based. It's based on an application and interview process. So I think it just depends on what school you're looking at and if that'll have any actual, or if it'll have more impact than another school.
I think that having a lot of SSL hours and just kind of having a lot of volunteer experience really helps. Just because for me with USC, I found out early because I had an interview for a merit scholarship, and in the interview, a lot of what they were focusing on was like my volunteer experience and the stuff I did with that, and it's kind of just good to like be able to expand with that, and like I think that's like a big thing. I think it's really helpful to have, just to kind of show that you're helping out the community and giving back.
To answer the SSL question, I don't think it matters how many like hours that you have, but I think it really matters like how you like spent those specific hours. So like, let's say that like in those specific like hours, like you're doing like the same exact like volunteering at an animal shelter. Like that's great and all, but like you kind of want to have like a little bit of variety in that. So like if that was like the only thing that you did, then like maybe like if you could like have like a certain leadership position in that, like that was definitely helpful for me in my case. Like I applied for this Army ROTC scholarship, and fortunately for me, that's helped cover my entire tuition, and it provides extra money for books and like a monthly stipend for living expenses and everything like that. So I think the biggest thing when you go into that process is trying to like, because like I had to write a lot of essays and do a lot of interviews to kind of communicate to to the people how like impactful those things were, like how much that helped me grow as a student, as a person in the community, and how that will be a tremendous asset to whichever college that you end up going to. So yeah, it's not really about quantity in SSL hours. I'd say it's more about how in particular you spent it. So my biggest suggestion for how those SSL hours or how those volunteer like things that you do is to try to see like to try to communicate a type of progression and type of leadership, because that's what a lot of colleges try to look for. So yeah.
I personally want to thank you guys for sharing your experiences. Many of you know, this is my first year as an administrator and working with the seniors this year. Just hearing from you guys and hearing some of what your experiences are, I feel like it's kind of equipping me when I'm talking to seniors who are stressing out about applications or getting into college or trying to figure out what they're going to do next year. Just for me, hearing from you, I can speak to them saying, I've heard from recent Wootton graduates, and this is some of the advice they would give you. So thank you guys for spending time with us this evening.